It's a frigid February morning. In a dark, empty lot, an old truck idles, facing east. Inside the truck, a man sits looking across the dark, desolate field of dead frozen straw and gazes into the black horizon. He shifts his eyes and glances at his rearview mirror and stares at the reflection of the dull steel door that is illuminated by the fluorescent glow of the overhead lamp. He leans his head back against the stiff padding of the headrest and shuts his overtired, burning eyes. With each slow, deep breath, he experiences a rare moment of bodily awareness. He feels the waves of tingling, aching sensations run down his spine, to the muscles in the small of his back and out to his limbs. And yet, as he sits in the cabin of his truck, with the low hum of the heat blowing through the dash vents and the repetitive rumble of the worn engine, he has a fleeting moment of peace. All the while, the encroaching thoughts of what lies ahead are eroding away his short-lived tranquility. In an instant, he's jolted back to reality, his attention drawn to the green glow of the digital clock on the plastic dashboard. 6:53 a.m. With each passing minute, he's further propelled ever closer to walking through the dull steel door and into the building. The structure of brick, mortar, and steel is unremarkable from thousands of others like it. However, within its four walls, the building constantly consumes unimaginable finite resources, drains weary men of energy, and snatches away precious time itself. Soon he too will be swallowed into the belly of the beast. At that moment, all of his senses will be immediately and intensely overwhelmed. His eyes will squint, trying to shield themselves from the harsh, bright white light pouring down from hundreds of LED strips. His ears will be bombarded with the clamor of grinding gears, the high-pitched hissing of air hoses, the screeching squeals of steel being carved by carbide blades, coupled with swooshing thuds of unsynchronized hydraulic pumps. His nose and lungs will be filled with the stench of microbacteria swimming within the coolant that flows through the dozens of ill-timed machines and the residual mist which they expel into the palpable toxic atmosphere. The man's mind and muscles will undergo a series of stresses and strains, hour over hour and day after day. His once sharp mind will become numb and dull from commanding robotic repetitive motions, to the point the very cartilage between joints will disintegrate. His labor and sacrifice will produce immense value of which he will only receive an insulting fraction. Instead, his drudgery will further enrich the strange, grotesque shells of men who will never set foot through the dull steel door. He exhales and reaches for the keys resting in the ignition. With the keys gripped between his pointer finger and thumb, he turns the keys back and pulls them out of the ignition lock cylinder. The rusty door hinge lets out an irritating creak as he swings open the door of the warm cab and steps out into the freezing, indifferent world. The corroded joint moans once again as the man slams the truck door shut. A cold gust of wind rolls across the field, slapping his cheeks with an icy sting. He turns away, faces the gloomy building, and begins marching across the concrete lot toward the entrance. The rigid heels of his battered leather steel-toe boots clop against the pavement, like some hoofed creature trudging towards a slaughterhouse. As he approaches closer to the building, the reverberating noises within get increasingly louder. A light flurry of snow begins to fall as he reaches the factory door, the floating snowflakes mingling with his frosty breath on each exhale. He reaches into the back pocket of his jeans, grasps the hard plastic key card, pulls it out, and taps it against the card reader. The red light on the reader turns green, followed by the sound of the lock unlatching. He grasps the door handle, pushes it down, and pulls the heavy door open. With a reluctant step inside, he lets the hydraulic hinge slowly close the dull steel door behind him.